Welcome back. You're watching Uongozi Today, where we keep them honest. And why we want to keep them honest also is on this tickling issue that now is developing. And of course, as a journalist, I'll have vested interest in this because I've seen a deliberate attempt in this country of the government trying to stifle the voice of the journalists who speak the truth in this country. And this is the latest attempt that we need to question. What is the rhyme and the reason why the Ministry of ICT will choose one publication to put their advertisement? As we speak right now, majority of the media houses in this country, the government have not actually paid them the pending bills that are there, running into billions. We're suffering. Most of you know we are suffering, right? Not just here in this media house that I'm serving, but also in many media houses across the country. We've not seen any publication of the tender, right? The bid that was there for this publication to get this particular tender and for them to be having the sole right to get the advertisement for them. We want to know the reason behind this and what is really happening. As you can see, the Kisengani directs all adverts other than those running in my govs to be placed in the Star. Critics say move exposes the government's lack of commitment to promote free media. So what is the future of the journalists or the would-be journalists who are in universities right now studying journalism? Is there any motivation for me to tell my daughter or my son that this is a credible career that you can follow? Or you can just do it as a hobby? Because at the end, they tell us, of course, we journalists are not paid very well in this country, right? It's a thankless job. And it's because of these systems that are in place which are trying to stifle, right, the voice of a journalist. So I just want to put it to our panelists, because I can see also Professor Gitila and Atuli, you've made an attempt here to say something, that the move was aimed at curtailing the media and is a culmination of efforts to silence the voice of the voiceless. But I'll come to Barak Muluka, because Barak, this is coming from your office, right? This is coming directly from the Ministry of ICT. It's good also that this may be the providential moment for us that you're here. You can speak to us and tell us, where is this coming from? And you're a seasoned journalist as well.
First of all, let's get the facts right. It's not from my office, because I don't work for that office. I have consulted for that office, and I remain available to consult for that office as and when they want wisdom and professional guidance. Okay? So first let me open that gap between myself and that office. I don't work for that office. It's a misconception.
But in the public domain, we've always, it's good to clarify now, you're a consultant.
Yes, okay. And that's why you have seen sometimes when this government is getting it wrong, I speak about it with candor, with boldness, because the distinction between me and that office is very clear. Having said that, Dubal, I would urge that from where you are, you do not speak like an activist, because you are now sounding like one. We would like Kenyans to listen to us and to be able to travel with us without looking like we are looking at it from an access to grind perspective. Now, this decision that has been made and that has been communicated is retrogressive. It is not the kind of advice that I, as Barak, would give to the minister, to the cabinet secretary. It's not the kind of advice that I would give to the PS or I would give to the president, because it is retrogressive. Media is supposed to operate in an open, free, and fair context where it plays its three critical roles of informing the public, of agenda setting, and of leading public opinion. You cannot do that in an environment where you are using the power of advertising or responding to other commercial interests to arm twist the media. Whichever way I look at it, I cannot run away from the thought that this is meant to muzzle the media. It is meant to make the media to toe the line. And it's not happening for the first time. I know that Professor Ogolla does not like history. I will invite him to my history classes. And after he has been there for 1 or 2 semesters, he will probably begin appreciating the importance of history in these things. In the past, we had the stellographic publications in this country, the papers that were being published by Hilary Mweno, and which was the very first serious effort at serious, informative and enlightening journalism in Kenya. And because of the depth of analysis, because of the substance, because of having its finger on the pulse of what ailed the nation in those days, the weekly review, the Nairobi Times, later the Kenya Times, were squeezed out of operation. They were forced to fold by government withdrawing advertising. This thing which we are seeing today began in 2015. Again, Professor Ogolla does not like history. It was started by the government of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in 2015. If you have read Professor Kisiangani's circular to his colleagues in government, then there was another circular in 2017. It means that this effort to undermine the media in a very structured manner began at that time. And it will be remembered that the executive at that time used to be very derisive, saying things like they use newspapers to wrap meat. They don't read, and yet they would still angrily speak about the things that were in those papers. I think this is a retrogressive move. It is unfortunate that the circular has been signed by a professor of history who should know about history, who should know that he's taking the country to the wrong place. And if the professor is worth his salt, he should go back to his superiors and advise them and tell them that this is a wrong step we have taken. But as I told you earlier on in this meeting here, that environment has its own way of operating. When good people go there, like Professor Edward Waswa Kisiangani has been a good person, he does not change that environment. The environment changes him, unless he's bold enough to speak up and to advise his superiors, and is willing to risk being told to ship out. And when he ships out, he can come back to the universities. We will welcome him.
Professor.
I just want to quote Michelle Obama, because I would like to disabuse us from paying too much attention into an environment. She was talking about Trump. Somebody was suggesting that the office will change him when he goes there. She said that power does not change an individual. It reveals who you are. So the structures these people are inheriting, the structures they're inheriting, they cannot explain their change. They have just been like that from the very beginning. Now, what you are seeing here, what you are reading in this directive, first of all, it's illegal, okay? Because the law requires that any government advertisement reach all the Kenyans by going through 2 dailies with the popular dailies with the widest circulation, and the popular usually is a standard under the nation. So that's a breach of law. Number one. Number two, this is an example why we're having a challenging economy. Because when the government speaks with both the sides of its mouth, then you don't understand where you are going, and the investors get afraid of risking their money. You have a government in directing. You see government as an insurance company or parastatal called National Health Insurance, which government organizations have been insuring with. And the government directed that organization no longer take insurance from government organizations so that they can seek private insurance. That is a move to maybe to promote private insurance. You can now turn around and say that you cannot advertise in these papers, you must advertise in this particular one. You are contradicting that policy, okay? And that means you are acting maliciously. You are not acting in the interest of the public, because in the interest of the public, you do the same thing you are doing to insurance companies. You want the government to promote, government institutions to promote the interest of insurance companies by telling them not to insure with the government insurance. You can't now turn around and tell the government that you cannot advertise in this or that company or that newspaper. You are contradicting your policy. And you see why I'm linking this to the economy, because people study trajectory. Money does not like inconsistency. It does not like insecurity. So the moment you cannot predict policy, you withhold. And if you are a foreigner, you keep your money where it is. If you are a Kenyan, you try to see how you can take it outside or just keep it with you. So the government needs to address this inconsistency. The government needs to be consistent so that the policy is predictable.
The government is the biggest spender. And of course, if you're now withholding all the money, you actually contract the economy. As you say, the cash flow will not be there. It will not be desirous of you also or of any employee to actually be remitting this HIF that you are talking about, because if there's no money, the cash flow issues as well, they have no option than to lay off. I know Barak is saying that I'm speaking like an activist right now. Even if I say it with a very mellow tone, still at the end of the day, that's the reality on the ground.
You see, I have put it with a very mellow tone.
No, yeah, because
the gravity of it has still sunk. That this is a retrogressive move, that no sober government in this day and age in the 21st century will want to blackmail the media and to take funds. In fact, at some point, people may even want to ask, let us interrogate that establishment where these funds are going in this age and day of mergers and acquisitions.
Indeed.
Yeah, who are the persons behind this? What is the ownership structure like? Who are the shareholders? Is it possible that there are some new shareholders who have arrived in that environment? I can still say the same things, the Berliner, without sounding like an activist, because I want to carry
Who sounds like an activist? Is it because of you raise the tone of your voice when you're expressing some of these issues?
Carry along the Kenyan nation must know that this is not about journalists. It's about the country. It's about pushing the country into the lurch. It is about controlling the free flow of information in the country. It's about managing opinion. It's about ensuring that people are silent. And that is wrong. Today they silence the newspaper. Tomorrow they silence the judiciary. The next day they silence you.
Indeed. As we go with that particular phrase from Moila, they came for the Jews. Yeah, finally, I was not there to speak for them as well. Lastly, right? Let's hear from Professor Ogola.
According to me, we say that democracy dies in darkness, and one way to make that happen is use the media. And this, for me, is the making of a dictator. And the other time, I was making analysis by saying that anyone who wants to be a dictator, the first time they start by buying opponents. You know, there are some opponents who have a price tag on them. So you buy them. And then there are sometimes when there are some opponents now whom you cannot buy, because the media has been an opponent. Remember, even Gachagua called them asking, what is wrong, guys? The rebuttal between the media, even William Ruto spoke about it during the WSR. Remember, in the side of it, he said, who is speaking on behalf of me? The media is attacking me. So this has been there, and this is now coming by saying now that you cannot be able to to be bought. Maybe the media was supposed to be bought, but they have not been bought. Now we have to threaten you. And power we use, this is the power of money. You know, you can use either the gun or you can use money. So this is the power of money, where the check is not coming to you. Pending bills are there. Now, even no job for you. So the fact they are hoping you're going to give them some business as a way to say, I'll withdraw my services if you don't pay me. Now they are saying they don't even need your services, so they can't pay you the pending bills. Neither can they give you businesses. This is how the dictators are made. And after they threaten you now with the commercial and you don't even now respond, now they threaten you now physically, because now that's how dictators go. They can go that route. So there's a reason why the media is called the fourth estate. The fourth estate is the public sector, which is the executive and all that. The second estate has always been known as the private sector. The third estate is always the civil society, NGO, those kinds. And the media is the fourth estate that reports all the three estates plus themselves. Because now, by you now saying that...
that is a new one.
That's a new one.
That's the definition, but you are allowed to come up with a new one.
Yes. You can critique. That's why I like this panel. The scholar level of this panel is that everybody feels very comfortable. Yeah. I was telling my brother professor here, when you have highly qualified people, there is no ego. Everybody takes things easy. No one is under pressure to be right. You just say what you want to say. And when someone corrects you, you take a lesson home. So thank you, my brother. I take that very honorably. Yeah. So the point I'm trying to draw here is that I said earlier that we need leaders. For example, Professor Kisangani, who is a professor. If you are head of state and you appoint people in your government who need your government, as opposed to people whom your government needs, this is what you get. Is there anybody in this government of Kenya Kwanza who Kenya Kwanza government needs? I would suggest that there's more of the people who need this government at least to be rich, to be famous. But I remember conversation with Obama, with one of his administrators, I'm forgetting the name because he has a very complex name. When Obama was constituting his cabinet, I think Muluka will remember, he went before someone and told them, my brother, I want you to come and serve my government because I'm setting up a government in the midst of a global financial crisis. And the guy told Obama, after being elected, give me time and think about it. Dibal, if William Ruto was to come to you and tell you, I want to appoint you the head of debt or economics to turn around the economy for me, will you tell him, give me time and think about it? Immediately, you'll be saying, you are on Twitter, we are congratulating you, then you go to that office and do nothing. I'm not saying you can't do anything. I'm trying to say...
the guy tell Obama?
Sorry?
So when did the money...
The guy gave Obama waiting for 2 weeks. It's when he told Obama, His Excellency, I'll come and serve. And that's how he came with tech manufacturing that transformed the US economy when there was a global financial crisis to there. But everyone in this, even before they have not been approved in parliament, they were being congratulated. You are still to go through interview and you have been congratulated by your family, you have changed your Twitter handle to now CS what. This kind of leadership is, for me, is a big misnomer. The day, I'm sure, Professor, when you go to class, you feel with your qualification, the students need you because you can make money elsewhere. You can do a lot of consultancy. I got fired from Strathmore. I've never slept hungry. So when you are in a position, like for example, Debal, the media house needs you. KTN needs you more than you need it. And that's why I'm saying it's a thankless job because it's thankless, but you still come, wake up, dress up, show up because there's something you are contributing to this conversation in the media that brings a lot of conversation. But my last point here is that Museveni did the same thing in Uganda. I used to consult for a media house called Monitor. When Museveni took New Vision and made a decree that all government institutions must have New Vision, because New Vision is more friendly to him. Remember when Monitor wrote about him, he even had challenge with them. So New Vision was in every department. We had a strategy and convinced Monitor to be called the most powerful independent voice, to the point that before the president, when the president goes to his office and finds New Vision Monitor, he would read first of all, what is Monitor saying about me? because at least he knows what New Vision is capable of saying. The president may find that another media house will rise that people will find to go to more than even the ones he's trying to give business. And even if not, that media house will take private sector jobs, it will be able to thrive. But last point but not least, in this digital disruption, tell Professor Kisangani he's going to fail because people do not even need this thing. I'm telling you, when you do consultancy. so people will go to digital media, so it's an exercise in futility. Even Museveni tried to shut down the internet. You can even go to the point of trying to shut down the internet. People will come with alternatives. In fact, if not, this is putting a gun on your head. We pray they don't release the trigger because it's going to be self-inflicted.
Right.
Yeah, some of these things, I think, as we put it, is that one, we have talked about uongozi, leadership on governance. The leaders also need a lot of support. And I think the government has taken this action because of some reasons, which they have not justified, as they said, that they have not justified the reason why. But I'm sure they have reasons why they have done so. And I think sometimes in leadership, you take some measures just to solve a problem, an immediate problem. And maybe sometimes we as Kenyans, we are very quick to make judgment and maybe critical comments on it, which are okay and they are healthy. But I do believe that the person in charge of the ministry and the principal secretary and the cabinet secretary, they know maybe they are solving an immediate problem, which maybe they later look into it, because as it seems, you cannot exclude, some people and or some media houses or media, media houses. And
so,
then
from your assessment, this movie is a part of problem solving.
Maybe they are solving a problem, and it has to go to public. And in the eyes of the public, of course, they have to create. But I don't think whether it will be permanent. I'm not sure because I'm not speaking on their behalf. But from an intellectual point of view,
is it creating a problem or solving a problem?
Well, it may be both. When in policy making, you may solve a problem and create a problem. So this may be solving a problem from my side, and I create a problem on your side.
Which problem do you think that they are solving?
It could be issues about the petty bills and other issues.
No, I think Professor
whatever issues are there. But these are theoretical. These are theories, because you really don't know the author and the intention. Unless you know, then you can speak about it.
Professor, they are not even theories. They are not even hypotheses. Yeah? They are not even, okay, at the best they are hypotheses.
As far as I know, you cannot write such a thing without a reason.
At the very best,
motive.
They are speculations. Yeah? But you are not going to solve a problem of filling up a pit by digging up another pit.
Yeah, exactly.
That if you are saying that there were 3 pits, and therefore let us now have 1 pit, which is the size of the 3 pits that we had, and therefore we have now filled up the pit. You haven't solved it. The expenditure is going to be the same. If you are saying that these ones have been given because they had the lowest bid, have you looked at the circulation? Have you looked at the readership? Have you looked at the editorial policy and the direction and the kind of substance and the kind of audience that this publication attracts? There are all these things which must be taken into account. Let us face it squarely, that there was a problem when we were going to the elections in 2022. A section of the media was perceived, and I think correctly so, to have been anti-Ruto. In fact, I can say that a section of the media, those who have been excluded, had been anti-Ruto. They were hostile. And Professor Edward Kisiangani is on record. You can go to your library and check. You will find him captured on camera telling media houses that you people do not like Ruto, you didn't like him, you don't like him, you are reporting negatively about him, about the Kenya Kwanza government. That would form a basis. Professor Kindiki, if you want to start hypothesizing, you must have your background facts, out of which you can now then start building hypotheses. And I can build a hypothesis that out of that historical that historical happening, although it is recent history, and out of the fact that there's another election coming and the need to prepare for it, there are people who must be kept silent. And there are many ways of keeping people silent, especially keeping the media silent. And Bal, I agree with you when you say these people whom we are training in these institutions, at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication itself, which falls under Professor Kisiangani, at the schools of journalism and mass communication all over the country, what do we purpose to do with
the messenger
them
you're sending to them
when we are muzzling that space, when we are forcing media houses to fold? And I'm not an activist myself. Professor Ogola, you are an activist, I think. Sometimes.
Yes, I am. Confessed one.
Yeah, and I think you have got your job clearly cut out for you.
Actually, I wanted to ask the bar that why don't the media approach Linda Jamii? We go to court on your behalf.
No,
because
you take it up yourself. You don't have to pay.
it's so costly. I have now around 36 cases in court, funded personally.
Fund this one. This is a very major public
Exactly.
interest litigation.
But a question I wanted to ask as well, don't you find it a bit confounding that the Media Council of Kenya has not weighed in on this?
Well, this just happened yesterday.
Yeah,
we have
to
wait. We can say by the same token that the Editors Guild.
But this has been there since last week. It's not just about yesterday. This development and the publication.
What has the Editors Guild done? And there's a whole conglomeration of other associations of media professionals. What have they done? What has Amway
the Media
done?
Owners Association as well?
What has the Media Owners Association
people
done?
will object to this because it's unreasonable.
This is retrogressive. This should be reversed, hopefully voluntarily, if the people in government, and I can look at that camera straight in the eye and say, if the people in government mean well for this country and even for themselves, they should reverse. They should engage the reverse gear. This is retrogressive and it's going to be finished. The Kenyans are going to defeat it in the long run. You don't need to go that direction.
I'm happy we agree. I'm happy I agree with you, Moloka. I said before it's going to fail because the alternatives available are just too lucrative. And for example, if you go to, I met a young man who is called Oliver Masai yesterday on the street, and he's doing a degree in digital journalism. I asked him, why are you doing degree in digital journalism? He told me, my brother, I'm looking at what happens in this other space. You can't really have a voice because the structure doesn't allow you to have your voice. And he wants to say, I want to tell untold stories that might not go into the conventional media. And actually, I autographed a group. I told him, have my number. I'll be very willing to mentor such like people. And I want to tell these young people who are here in the School of Mass Communication, don't give up. Because when things happen like this, that's when change takes place. Maybe the teachers teaching the curriculum in these schools need to change the curriculum, because you can never teach media in the same context when this is happening. And of course, you know, the government is in charge of overseeing the curriculum because they call the Kenya School of Curriculum Development. And I'm sure that lecturers who are listening to me, like myself, maybe need to come with innovative ways on how they do it. But let me tell you that it's not just during dictatorship. When Kim Wan-young was transforming Singapore, he also went for the media. And let's be honest, I think when I read his book, that's where I kind of disagree with him, because he said any media who was misreporting him, he denied them advertisement for 1 year.
It was actually called Lee Kuan Yew.
Lee Kuan Yew, yes.
Yes.
He denied them advertisement for 1 year, that you are not getting money for 1 year if you try to, this is not our language. I'm not from Mali myself. So forever we mention
it's a tract by
that's true.
But thank you for your precision.
Continue.
Yeah, so I'm trying to say that he tried to do that, and he was very adamant that if you tried, because for you to transform economy, you talk about system which is changing the people, not the people changing the system.
Yes.
For him, he was changing the system.
Yes.
And he had to do some things which were either sometimes unconstitutional or unconventional.
Extra-constitutional.
Extra-constitutional. So whenever he did them and they reported him in bad light, for the whole year, you never saw government budget. And the government, because it's a very big consumer, it tends to dictate policy. Like example, if the government says now we are going digital media, you might find that media houses will tilt their strategy towards digital media because that's how it goes. If the government makes a pronouncement, everybody goes back to revise how they are going to relate. And that's why you can see Kenya Kwanza emanating in every life, in the family, in everywhere. So I'm trying to say here is that Kenya lacks policies, and I think we should go to the fiscal policies of the country. We should go and look at the media policy. We should go from policy instead of now talking about individuals and people.
Thank you. Okay.
So that we can about institutions and structures.
Maybe it's a providential time that also we should seek for dialogue, just as the judiciary has actually sought for dialogue. And do we go for dialogue on this, and so that we can actually come up with the issues of the pending bills and this muffling that is in the office as well. If we can read the writings on the wall, they go for the judiciary. They will come for the media. It will be institutional by institutional, being muffled and muzzled at the end of the day. I don't know. Barak, you're one of the scribes as well. This is your space.
See, dialogue is a good thing, especially given that in the worst case scenario, it gives you the opportunity to speak straight to
power.
Other party to power and to state the position. And as one of my teachers, Mukaru Nganga, used to say at the University of Nairobi, maybe someone has misled His Excellency the President. Maybe someone has misled the State House. And therefore, somebody needs to have audience with His Excellency the President and help him to appreciate the full magnitude of the implications. I have said, and I've worked in the media for a long time. This is my 40th year since I graduated from the University of Nairobi 40 years ago, 1983. And I flatter myself with the thought and the belief that I know a thing or two about the functioning of the media. And I can tell President Ruto, you have been misled. Please engage reverse gear. And I would request the media owners to get together, including those who think that they have won this tender, to go to State House and tell the president that this is a mistake. This thing must be distributed across media houses without exerting political or commercial interests and power and authority over the media. That space should be allowed to breathe for the good health of the nation going forward. Otherwise, this country is going to go back by another 30 years. And by the time it tries to catch up, it will be 60 years behind where it should be. We cannot afford that.
Right, we don't need to hark back. First they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. That is Martin Nimola. That is a famous spot that we know it as today. So at least we've spoken out and we're waiting for the dialogue. I can see we're pinched for time. Just remaining with 8 minutes. I wonder if we should just open that debate on the Mount Kenya politics.
Yes,
because I know that is it's going to take our time. We will not do justice to it.
Mount Kenya is too big to climb.
It's too big to climb.
Let's do it. I don't think it's that big.
We can give the abstract.
Can you give the abstract that we
when Baba said he has learned to climb Mount Kenya,
to be continued.
We are told that way. He learned how to climb Mount Kenya, like Prof is trying to say here. We discovered he had not even known the Mount Kenya. Anyway, you can do it.
All right, so we have who is fooling whom as the flash today in the Daily Nation. And we've seen also, if we may just pick it up, Kenya Kwanza leaders are touring Meru as infighting rages. Slippery Mountain is what the flagger is reading on top there. Very interesting editorial cartoons as well we've had lately just about Kenya. Let me just go there. There you are. Yes, he's in your hood, as we can say it on the streets. Professor Gitile Naituli is in Meru.
Yes.
What is happening within the entire Mount Kenya region? Is there a fragmentation of it? Will we see a unit, a one blockade as we head towards 2027? Because these politics have begun already.
There is no fragmentation. Nature avers a vacuum. There is a leadership vacuum in the Mount Kenya region. Gachagua would have been the natural heir to, because he's the deputy president. He's a senior most politician. But then he started his politics the wrong way. When he went in, he should have borrowed a leaf from Mudavadi. See, Mudavadi got everybody from Western Kenya and told them the election is over. The government we are forming is a government of the Republic of Kenya, so let's join the government. With that, notwithstanding which side you supported during the election. So naturally, he became a uniter for that region. And Gachagua started that instead of going to declaring as a government of shares and then attacking the former president directly. So he ceded space. What you are seeing here is that the space has been opened, it's ceded. And if it's ceded, these people are trying to occupy, the different politicians are trying to occupy the space. But let me say this, the people trying to occupy this space, eventually they will have no gravitas in this region. I understand this region very well. There are two regions in this country which, when it comes to politics, since we opened the political space in 1992, they have always fallen on the same side. If they're in the opposition, they are there together. If they're in government, they are there together. That is the Mount Kenya region and the Bukusu land. The reason is economy. These people look how does the sitting government affect them economically. So if this economy does not move in the positive direction, by 2027, all these people in UNDA trying to compete for whatever space they think Gachagua has opened for them, they will be all irrelevant. They will not amount to much. But also, Gachagua, I think his language there about the people speaking in Matope is no presidential. You see, these people have a right to say, look, we don't have a party in the Mount Kenya region, which is a fact, which is what that senator said. All the senator said, because I listened to that local radio, or TV, he said we made a mistake. We went into somebody else's house without building ours. So when these people want to discuss their things, they will tell us move so that we can discuss our things and go outside. So he says, isn't the time to build our house? You see, those are valid questions, and as a leader, he needs to accept that these people have a right to raise those kind of questions.
All right, let's make a judicious use of time so that we can have a fair share with the pinch time that we have. Kindiki?
Yeah, I think what Professor said is true. What the Mount Kenya region is lacking is leadership. And I agree there's vacuum because all regions and the politics in this country are divided into regions. If you look at, without naming regions, there is those parties that make up the umbrella party that goes for election. like the Azimio, like Kenya Kwanza. So you find that in central Kenya region, they don't have their party, which, you know, will, you know, team up with other parties to make Kenya Kwanza. And for that, I think people, the politicians, are not very, very comfortable, because they feel that as they look forward for 2027 general elections, they do not have a party which they are going to use as a bargaining power. And these are politics of this country. So I think what is happening is that Mount Central Kenya, or Mount Kenya region, is really not divided, but the talk which is going on of Matope, or I'm going to occupy the position of so and so, and they are trying to get a leader, because they do not have really a leader whom they are going with, and, you know, fronted by a party, not just a self-declared leader. So now if we come to Central Kenya and say, now who is your person whom you are taking to, you know, team with other regions so that you make a negotiating, you know, team like Kenya Kwanza? They do not have. And I think sooner or later, somebody is going to emerge who will take over. So I don't know who will be, but somebody is coming up. And maybe before the general election, they have maybe their own party or something like that. But there's something is, what is happening is just they are looking for leadership position. And the one cannot just declare himself or herself and say, I'm the leader of the region, without being supported by the grassroots levels. That's why you see they are moving to those grassroots levels in very interior areas. Like yesterday they were Tigania East, I don't know what. Tomorrow they will go somewhere else. Another day they will go to Central Kenya, and, you know, Kirinyaga, Muranga. And I think out of this kind of debate, they're going to get somebody who will be their person in 2027. And without that person, it's very difficult to negotiate on the table in this country. You must have a regional leader, kingpin leader.
Thank you.
However you look at it.
Right,
and that's what is happening in Central Kenya.
Barak, what are you reading for your dailies?
Very quickly. First, this reminds us again of history. that in the past we had Dr. Josephat Njuguna Karanja, and that we saw what is happening today happened to him with someone who called himself Little David, and they failed him. Related to that, this point is again, Professor, very important. We say in Africa that if you see the tortoise seated on top of a table or on a tree, someone has put it there. You must seek to find who has put the tortoise
on the table.
Who has put the tortoise on the table. Finally, those who are angling for 2032, it's very far. Hopefully it's what Professor Kindiki says, that they would want to have an outfit of their own to take into the formation. But if it is about 2032, it's very far. Maybe the more sober and sedate persons like the Muranga governor, Irungu Kangata, are likely to be the people to watch in the mountain going forward. Thank you.
And now you're branding.
And my point?
And rebranding for that matter. Yeah,
mine will be
closing
brief.
remarks.
The fact that regarding Gachagua is being questioned now is historical. Remember in Karen, when they were picking him, he was not the de facto incompetence, but de facto in some cash. So cash will still play, and Gachagua still has access to where the cash can come from. So you cannot wish him away still.
But there are other avenues of cash now.
Yeah, so I'm trying to say
that were not there.
That emerging leader will also be asked that time who has money. According to me, this, as talk about the person who puts the tortoise on top of the table, William Ruto will still stand with Gachagua in 2027, but he wants him to pull up his stocks if he has them.
Right.
He might not have them.
Right. On the issue of cash, maybe Kindiki will be intimately familiar with that.
And of the tortoise.
The tortoise as well. But we don't want to probe. We leave it at that professionally. Yeah. This is Kindiki himself. Right. Yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think we are pressed for time, and we need just to leave it there. I want to give you also a chance to give your closing remarks. I think you've done so. We can pick up on this next week if, of course, we have that opportunity as well next week. Thank you so very much for your input. And thank you for your valid company. You've been watching Uongozi Today here on Morning Prime. News Diary is up next.